Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the always online multiplayer gaming podcast brought to you by mmorpg.com, your home for all things multiplayer related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, aka magicman, as always. This is episode 518. We're doing the show live, as always, twitch.tv/mmobomb. We got chat standing by, ready to chime in with their opinions on everything we have scheduled to talk about today. If you're watching on YouTube, listening on Audible, Spotify, any of the podcast platforms, thank you so much. While you're there, give it a like, a subscribe, turn on those notifications, thumbs up, all that stuff to feed the algorithms. But most importantly, on YouTube and on mmobomb.com, get your weekly bombs and question of the week answers in the comments below so I can scrape them all out of there for the next show. Going to be a little sporadic on the show for the next few weeks, actually. Troy's day job stuff kind of changing, so we got to work around that. I've got a theater show coming up next week and the week after, so it's going to be hit and miss, let's say, for like the next 3 weeks. Follow us on Twitter. You'll know exactly when we're going live and when we won't be able to go live. Still plan to try and stream in those days where we don't have a cast. But stay tuned. Let's get started with a bunch of news today. Joining me to go over all of it, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
It's Friday, so it's Doctor Who Day.
It is Friday. What, is every Friday Doctor Who Day? Like, I feel like you said this last show, too, that it was Doctor Who Day.
It is. It is Doctor. Well, it's weird. It used to be Saturday because it aired at like 7 p.m. in the UK on Saturday, which, I got to watch it if I was, doing some finagly stuff, would watch it via stream at about 2 p.m. on a Saturday. But for whatever reason, with the whole Disney deal, they decided that what would be really great is to make it be midnight, Friday night in the UK. And so it's like 7 p.m. our time. It makes no sense to me, but whatever.
Whatever. Also on the line, looking and sounding a lot better, Mr. Troy Blackburn. How are you, sir?
I've had a vacation since then. I'm doing very well. Got some sun, got some beach time, got some drunk.
This sounds dangerous, son.
It was a vacation I totally forgot about. So
yeah,
for like time off, like hey, if somebody's going to be out a day, they're sick, like obviously that's fine. But for like vacations, we try and get as much notice as possible, right? And Troy did let me know like a month ahead of time. He was like, hey, I'm going to be out May this to May that, going to go to take the wife and go down to the beach and everything. And I always say like to anybody the same thing, like, okay, Q, okay, Troy, just remind me when we get a little bit closer. Cool, no problem. Well, Troy did not remind me.
Nope, I did not.
So the day he was driving to the beach, I assigned him 2 pieces and sent him cast notes for the next day. And then all of a sudden my cell phone rings and I'm like, I look over and it says Troy, and I'm like, what is Troy calling me for? Like, he could just hit me on Discord. And obviously we talk via phone for longer conversations and stuff, but it'll normally come with like, hey, Q, can I give you a call? Hey, Troy, can I give you a call? And this is just my phone ringing. I picked it up and he's like, yo, I'm in the car driving to the beach. Don't know if you remember or not, but I'm out for the next 5-6 days. I was like, oh shit, yeah, I guess he is. Let me go write 4 pieces real quick.
Yep.
No, the
I was already in the car, headed that way.
He sent me the show note because I think I had asked him, am I on the cast this week? And he was like, yeah, I'm sending you the show notes in a bit, you and Troy. And I'm like, okay. And he sends the show notes. And then he's like, so Troy's not going to be here. And I'm like, so what does this mean for the show? And he's like, well, I'm trying to find somebody now.
Yeah, so we had Jason on the last show.
Honestly, I was just like, ooh, day off. But no.
Nope. All right, let's get started with the news. Here we go. We got a bunch of fun stuff to discuss today. We're going to start with some rumors, then we'll move on to some upcoming games, and then we'll hit our question of the week that I'll give you later in the show, but we're going to answer for us on today's show. And some weird rumors around. One kind of coming out of Respawn Entertainment, Troy. And this one's gaining a little bit of traction. We don't know anything for sure yet, but what seems to be happening with our buddies over at Respawn?
Yeah, they've got a job posting on LinkedIn that was pointed out by Twitter user Hazador Gaming, and they're looking for somebody to sort of head up a significant professional experience designing multiplayer FPS experiences.
So you gotta have a lot of experience. Well, let's see. First-person shooters multiplayer that are done by Respawn Entertainment. Let's take a look at that long and robust list. That would be Titanfall and Titanfall 2, right?
Yep. What a list. What a list.
What a list. So, I mean, could this be a Titanfall 3? People have wanted one for a long time. Titanfall 1, very well received. Titanfall 2, maybe a bit more divisive, right? It had its certain ups and downs. And we really wanted a Titanfall 3. And we were getting one, if you remember, but it ended up being scrapped, and a lot of that stuff ended up becoming Apex Legends. I mean, you got to go back and figure that stuff out. But could it be anything besides Titanfall 3? Like, I think if Respawn Q was going to be assigned a first-person shooter multiplayer game to do, like, you would just tell them, do Titanfall 3, wouldn't you? Like, I can't imagine them being given something else.
I mean, unless the difference is that they weren't given it like as an assignment, but they just decided they were like, oh, we have an idea, and somebody said, okay, cool. You know what? If it is Titanfall 3, all I want out of it is for them to bring the drop a Titan on it, add campaign back. The one where you could make the gifs of a Titan dropping on.
Oh, yeah.
Something, because I dropped a Titan on Guy Fieri.
Yeah, and Apex Legends, yeah, I'm being a bit facetious when I say that only Titanfall and Titanfall 2. Apex Legends is making billions and billions and billions, and it is first-person shooter, but it's also one that in my brain I don't put in the first-person shooter category. I put that in the Battle Royale category, because that is like exclusively a Battle Royale. But yeah, technically, Tori,
and now
you're not
are
wrong.
we at the point where we would want another Apex Legends?
No, I mean, it's making billions with bees and has been for years. Like, it's insane. Troy, you just did financials on how well that was doing not too long ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I was going to say, we just covered that and how well that game's doing and how big of a deal it's making for that company.
What did they call it? I'm trying to pull up your story, because I think they used a very particular phrase when they described that game. Many years ago, when it first came out and it was like 2 years old and it had already crossed billions, they were saying like it was their next big IP for EA. I can't remember what it was.
Like, yeah, no duh.
Yeah, no kidding, right? During EA's financial, Apex Legends has net bookings of 3.4 billion since its 2019 launch. 5 years, 3.4 billion.
I mean, I guess then it might actually be time for them to do something else Apex Legends related, but maybe not something that would replace the game or that would attempt to replace the game that's making them tons of money already.
Yeah, I mean, so
but, there's plenty, like, obviously lots of companies are like, and we have this game over here that everybody loves, so here's a thing.
Yeah,
so something's kind of similar, but not.
So, but you're saying they're on the LinkedIn post, they want the role to have significant professional experience designing multiplayer FPS experiences. So, in their wheelhouse, that puts them in Titanfall 2 and Apex Legends. And I feel like out of the two, you might actually piss more people off by doing something in the Apex universe that isn't part of Apex Legends itself, right? And I mean, this doesn't necessarily have to be a whole new product, by the way. They just have a new multiplayer FPS project in the works. So could they be, to Q's point, Troy, maybe not necessarily looking for somebody to help design a new game, a la maybe a Titanfall 3, but a new feature mode project that would be part of the existing Apex Legends, or to more apt to Q's point, a side project for the Apex Legends universe?
I don't know. I feel like anything Apex Legends adjacent would be something way different, like a card game or something like
Oh,
that in
God.
that universe. God forbid.
Okay, I like card games, and even I am like, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm leaning into the Titanfall 3 camp myself. I think it would be awesome to see. I think you do have a known IP in that. Sure, you could be working on a brand new IP project too, but you have a known IP in Titanfall that has a fairly good name out there. There's nothing out there that says Titanfall is like a horrendous game. Sure, the second one had its ups and downs, but overall, I think it was reviewed fairly well. It just got released in a janky time frame between Call of Duty and Battlefield,
Yeah.
right in the middle of the two releases, which was a terrible position for any game to be in.
Which
less
is
another
ironic because it
freaking
was
FPS.
EA determining that, and one of those two titles was EA's.
Belongs to EA, yeah. So I think another chance at a Titanfall game, and it is a multiplayer game. I mean, I think they had a single player mode in it where you could like play the story and stuff, but it was a multiplayer game where you get in and crash Titans down on people like Q likes to do, apparently.
I would love to see
And,
it. I would love to see a Titanfall 3. I am concerned,
Yeah, it
though,
would
it is
be
EA.
fantastic to
They've
see.
already been down this road, and they've already canceled it once. You know, EA being Big Daddy
Mhm.
EA. Now, it worked out. They shifted to Apex Legends, and the work had morphed and kind of like a Project Titan into Overwatch type thing. So, like, you didn't lose all of that time and money, just a portion of it. But if you're EA, you've already canceled a Titanfall 3 once.
Mhm.
But
And
you could
it
make a
could be canceled
Titanfall
again.
something else without, a number. Titanfall
Card game.
Legends or some shit.
A Titanfall card game.
Titanfall card game, yay!
They just want you to have
This
experience in
guys just really
FPS.
want them to turn into card game. This is what's happening.
They're only asking for the FPS experience because they want you to understand Titanfall, not because you're going to make a Titanfall. Not because you're going to make one. I don't know.
I mean, I was literally just thinking something with like a subtitle. Not a completely separate genre.
Titanfall Reborn.
Titanfall Legends, Titanfall, like just
Titanfall,
throw a dart at the game naming board.
Titanfall, A Realm Reborn. that works. That works. Titanfall
We're
Rise.
not gonna fuck up the release
That's
this
a
time.
good one. Titanfall Rise.
Now Chad is just speculating. Titanfall Rise, Titanfall Genesis, Titanfall Revelations, Titanfall's Revenge, Titanfall the prequel. All right. Sure, Tori, why not? It's before the Titans were made, and it's just a generic first-person shooter. That's it. Moving on to some other rumors. So again, rumors, right? And so this one, I wrote an article about it, but I didn't write it from like, hey, we're going to cover this rumor, because honestly, the rumor didn't have a whole lot of weight behind it to me. But I thought it did provide an interesting thought experiment, and so I wanted to write about the thought experiment portion of it instead. And that was about a week ago. A rumor from Duar on X, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it, speculated that Microsoft was in the process of preparing a $16 billion offer to buy Valve. No stock, just a straight cash homie type offer. And so I was like, okay, that's the only source on it. That's a bit sketchy to begin with, but I wanted to think through that type of offer and see, does it even make sense for one to buy the other? And two, is 16 billion going to do it? Now, this does get a little hard, Troy, right? In that Valve, obviously owners of Steam, but also technically a software development company, right? In Team Fortress 2, and we're going to talk about another rumor on them in just a second. But they are a private company, so it is hard to get into their financials. We've seen estimates from like Forbes and other outlets over the last 4 or 5 years put their value, at anywhere between 40 billion and 80 billion. And obviously Steam just rakes in money, 30% of everything they're selling, right? They're just scraping it right off the top and just have to maintain the service to do so. So there's billions in revenue coming in every year. So take this from two standpoints. One, does a deal like this make sense to you, Troy, in either direction, Valve or Microsoft or both? And then two, is $16 billion straight cash the type of offer that you think would even remotely be entertained?
I think it would make sense for Microsoft to own a platform like that on PC, especially with the way that they're spreading their games or trying to spread their games out a little more nowadays. For Steam itself, for Valve, to me, it doesn't make as much sense. And my initial gut reaction was, as crazy as that offer is, it sounded low to me, just based on, and like you said, it's hard to know the financials of Steam. They're a private company. They don't have to report anything the way a lot of these other companies do that we always know that, Apex Legends made $3.4 billion since it got released. It's because they're publicly traded companies. They have to release that information. Valve doesn't have to do that, so it's hard to get a grasp on it. But I know Gabe Newell is filthy freaking rich, and and if I was filthy freaking rich and had more money than I could ever spend in my lifetime, I don't know that 16 billion for a company that has made me filthy freaking rich and continues to make me filthy freaking rich. I don't know if I'm interested in that offer.
Yeah, that's kind of where I landed too, Q. That, like, to me, it seemed like a good idea on Microsoft's side, right? They would pick up the big dog in the PC digital distribution platform. And I've seen somebody in chat has already said, hey, like regulators would have a field day with this one. I mentioned that in the piece that, yeah, I think regulators would have a field day with this one.
Yeah.
Activision was hard enough. And of course, Microsoft would make the argument that, like, Valve is technically a software company, but they are not a software company to the extent of an Activision Blizzard. But having the Steam distribution platform, we know that Xbox is kind of, or at least seems to be, shifting focus more towards distribution of games to every platform that they can get the games on, and maybe not so much try to tie up exclusivity deals to sell Xbox units. We also know that they want to get into the handheld market, and hey, by the way, Steam already has a thing that does that. So maybe buying the Steam, like, it just, point after point, like, made sense for Microsoft to want to try and do that. And I saw people quoting that, like, Microsoft said in the past that they would do it Microsoft said in those emails during the FTC investigation into the Activision Blizzard deal that they really wanted Nintendo in the past. That's who they really, really wanted. But then as a sidebar, those emails also said, like, yeah, we would buy Valve or attempt to buy Valve if something like that was ever on the table. It was like such a passing comment that, like, yeah, so clearly they would buy anybody they were interested in if the opportunity presented itself. It wasn't like super specific to Valve. But at 16 billion, yeah, seems way too low to me. Not saying that that's not a lot of money. But then I couldn't come up with a good reason for Valve. Like, not one. I couldn't, like, unless, and we don't know Gabe's individual ownership of the company these days. I've seen it estimated at him personally owning 25 to 35% of the company still. But we don't know the exact ownership split between the private owners. So, like, unless they want, the only thing I could come up with was just they didn't want to do it anymore. Like, they just didn't want to get up and go to work anymore. Or the impetus was to go do something else. Like, okay, this has run its course. I don't want to do it. But you would need the entire ownership team, or at least 51% of the holders of the company, to make that decision. I couldn't find a beneficial reason, Q, for Valve to maybe want to even entertain this type of discussion.
Yeah, it's really curious. And I also feel like, I mean, one of the big concerns, right, with, like, the regulators and stuff was, like, the distribution side of things, right? Like the whole cloud gaming and all of that jazz. And I kind of wonder if that would fall into that area of concern as well for regulators. But yes, with Valve, Valve being Valve, I don't see them wanting to sell themselves off.
Yeah, and this isn't like
I could be totally wrong. Like,
this
obviously don't know them. So
This isn't, Troy, like Joe Blow winning the lottery and trying to decide, do I want the lump sum payment or the annuity, right? Like, we're talking about owners of a company that are pulling in billions in revenue a year. And it's like, sure, there's going to be an impetus where it's like, hey, you could continue to work here and you're going to make X million per year as long as we keep performing the way we're doing. Or we could sell the company right now, and you, as your ownership, you get a $4 billion check right now. Like, those numbers get so ridiculously big that it doesn't matter. Like, oh, so wait, I could have 4 billion now, or I could make 4 billion plus over 8 years and then continue to be making money after that. Like, the numbers, somebody would really have to want a payday, like a lump sum payday, and the numbers just get so big that I don't think it's really all that enticing for Valve's ownership.
Yeah, somebody would need to want out, and I surely, depending on how the split is between the owners of the company for Valve, somebody would be buying somebody else out before they would, surely somebody is in there for like the money printing that occurs, and would be interested in maybe buying out another share.
Yeah, regulators would have an absolute field day with this one. I don't think it'll happen. I think maybe it was a goofy rumor. Somebody heard something, but at the end of my whole piece, I was like, yeah, I just don't see a reason why Valve would even want to talk about this for those numbers or for just selling the company in general. Why? It's not like Gabe Newell is going into work every day doing hardcore programming and stuff these days where he's just like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Somebody just pay me. Like, that's not his life. It just isn't. On the other side of Valve, though, speaking of software companies, we are getting rumors that they are working on an arena hero shooter, kind of like an Overwatch style type thing called Deadlock, a third-person hero shooter. Now, this is all from leaks, and we have seen more leaks since our coverage of this initial story of even video and things like that from a closed alpha playtest involving hundreds of players. So there is an NDA, but that hasn't stopped a lot of information leaking. It looks to be 6v6 team battles, maps featuring lanes, so hero shooter / MOBA, maybe like a gigantic type thing would be a more apt comparison, Troy, than an Overwatch comparison. Usable items, various hero abilities. We've kind of got a little bit of MOBA, a little bit of tower defense. I think you described it as a mix of Valorant, Overwatch, Dota 2, and Team Fortress 2. So Smite.
Yeah, right.
A little bit of a sci-fi setting, and we kind of have the name of at least one character here in some of the images I'm going to be showing here, Grey Talon. Troy, what are you thinking? I know you're a big Smite fan. You were an Overwatch fan back in the day. I know you're interested in Marvel Rivals, which we'll talk about in just a second. What do you think of Valve possibly getting into this market?
Well, first of all, they have a hero shooter, but obviously this one sounds, from the leak, sounds like it's going to be different enough that they probably didn't want to, go with the Team Fortress name. And God forbid they make a third in a series. We know that that's not possible. So on to a new game it is. Interestingly enough, it does sound a little bit like Gigantic. Obviously, they didn't just throw this out because Gigantic is coming back. If they're in a testing phase, this has been in production for a while, so they've been working on this for a little while. But the whole having lanes and things like that is taking me back a little bit. Just because I would assume that they would do like a next generation Team Fortress game, and it sounds like that they're pushing beyond that.
Yeah, I'm not sure on this one. I've seen kind of like weird arguments queue online about, like, remember when Valve used to do creative stuff? And I was like, no. Obviously, very successful company. They have done very creative things with Half-Life and Portal and all their fun stuff. Even Team Fortress 2 has its own quirks and stuff. But like the stuff that's come out of Valve lately has been almost Blizzard-esque in its development, right? In that hey, we're going to take something that's already kind of popular or very popular. We're going to put our own little spin on it and do some certain things with it. Yeah, sure, this may not be the most original premise of a game. It's not Valve doing something new and earth-shattering, which they certainly have in the past. I don't want to take that away from them, but they have not done that in recent memory. Valve has not, in any recent time, dropped something so new and earth-shattering that it defined or created a genre. They just haven't anymore. So I was kind of like, why is that really an argument? Like, if they do a decent game and you like it, cool. And I think if you're Overwatch 2, if you're other games in this space, this is probably a concern to those teams, right? Like, oh crap, Valve's coming into this market now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. It's just something else for people to play. But the argument against like that are people saying, well, they used to do original stuff. Yeah, but nobody really does original stuff anymore. Like they've all like everybody's figured out that there's apparently a genre or two, especially in the shooter space, that it's worth making games for, and that's what they do. So I don't know that I'm terribly surprised. And the people like there will, even if this comes out, there will be people who totally stick with whatever games they're playing. They might bop over and play this, but they'll go back to the other one because that's the way gamers are. And there will be whoever, either new people who haven't played this kind before, or the few people that are just roamers anyway. Like I don't think it's that big of a deal for the other companies necessarily.
Looking at Valve's kind of release slate, right? Portal 2, wow, man, this is making me feel old. Portal 2 was 2011, believe it or not.
Good Lord.
13 years ago.
Jeez.
Since then, so 13 years ago. Since then, everything has been either tied to the Counter-Strike Global Offensive IP, the Dota IP, the Artifact IP, with a little bit of Half-Life stuff in there with like Half-Life Alyx, the VR game that they did, and Aperture Desk Job. But yeah, everything they've done in the last 13 years, as far as developed, right? Obviously, I'm not looking at their publishing slate. That's different. In the last 13 years has been tied to those IPs. Counter-Strike, Dota 2, and Artifact. If you go back before that, it's Team Fortress, Portal, and the Left 4 Dead IPs, and now we're back into 2005, 2006. And I don't think any of those titles you would look at and go, remember when Valve did new things? But
I mean, maybe Portal.
Yeah.
Like it was a shooter, but
yeah,
the whole puzzle aspect of it, I think Portal was probably their most innovative thing. They obviously make things that people get invested in, right? Like they really love the characters, and like it's you can scroll Tumblr and find all the Team Fortress like comics and stuff that people have made. So it's they definitely are good at when they make something, making something that people are invested in. I wonder though if part of that does come down to the fact that they only make 2 of whatever it is.
Whatever they're making. Counter-Strike 2.
And
Tori,
it's not like you're not playing Team Fortress 145. Like you're just either this is it, this is what exists, and we're done. And like we only went so far. We can't really do bad things to the characters you like or anything else. Like there's nothing, right? Because that is something you risk in storytelling. If you just keep going, sooner or later you're gonna ruin something. And if they just stop at 2, they're fine.
Tori the Chicken saying, are you saying Counter-Strike 2 is not groundbreaking and new? Chirac, very good point. Like the Steam Deck, obviously I would say yes, revolutionized handheld gaming spaces. The Switch kind of doing its thing, but also very specific to Nintendo games where the Steam Deck is just, take your damn PC library with you on the go. Absolutely kind of revolutionized that space. We're kind of looking at this at the the software development argument that I've seen kind of floating around. Oh, why is Valve making one of these? Like, they should do new stuff like they did back in the day. Well, back in the day was 1990s and early 2000s at this point. We're talking like 2 decades ago. And
There's a
Q,
lot less competition and people already making stuff.
and Q, I think you're right. Like, Valve doing something like this makes me more interested in something like this than if some company I've never heard of or one of the smaller dogs in the gaming space said, hey, we're making Deadlock. I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll check it out when you get it, and probably won't play it long. Valve just does come with that kind of, but man, you are like seriously breathing into that mic, Troy. Holy hell, man. You okay, bro?
Am I really?
Yeah. Damn. I was like, what is going on? It's like, is that dude okay? Woo! I do. I got Troy hot and bothered.
It's the big one.
All this Steam talk, it gets Troy all riled up.
Woo, things got steamy.
I see what you did there. Hey, last rumor before we head over to a few other things. Guild Wars 2 expansion reveal next week. Scheduled for June 4th. Everything's fucking happening on June 4th or June 5th next week. Holy hell.
Is.
Q and I were like, she said something to me and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen a couple of things coming out that day. And then I looked and I was like, oh my God, you're right, Q.
Well, I forget, you sent me something, but then it was like, there's, I'm like, wait, June 5th, because there's, yet another event starting in XIV, but there's also the next Genshin update drops on the 5th.
And then Destiny 2's final shape. Guild Wars 2 is going to be revealing its expansion. Like Gold Road is next week.
I was going to say ESO drops its expansion next week.
It's like, holy hell.
Two major Kickstarters, board games that I want in on drop on the 4th. Like,
oh, yeah. Well,
talking about spending money.
The beta for the World of Warcraft expansion. Yeah, there's they just all wait. You know what? People need stuff to do in early June.
Oh yeah, the war within beta. Yep. Yeah, so we got a little bit of a teaser video for this. Obviously, full announcements next week, so we'll obviously be covering it. Make sure you hit up mmorpg.com. That's what pays the bills. Also got some great giveaways up for you to enter. Thank you for following on X and Twitter, by the way. We have surpassed 10,000 followers on there, so thank you so much. Much obliged on that one. Troy, what do you want to see from the Guild Wars 2 expansion, since you're kind of the more Guild Wars 2-y out of everybody here? Obviously, this trailer seems to indicate that spears might not be just for the water anymore. But what else do you want to see?
We may be getting a brand new land weapon, and I hope it comes with new animations and new abilities. I hope it's not just, oh, you can do all that stuff out of the water now, because I don't remember exactly. I think spears have a lot of like water-specific animations, especially. So the water weapons are obviously made for the water, so it'd be nice to see them, okay, here's a spear, but it's a brand new weapon out on the land that's completely different than how it plays under the water. They're talking 2 zones this time around instead of just one.
They put a whole blog on like what they've learned over the last expansions and picking up their expansion cadence and getting away from the living world stuff and doing more just faster content. All good stuff,
yeah,
but will they deliver?
Yeah, that's the big question is it going to be underwhelming? I think to me personally, and I know a lot of players enjoyed Secrets of the Obscure, but to me personally, it was a little underwhelming. Wasn't really enough to bring me back into the game, both story-wise and content-wise. Not saying they didn't put out some good content. I'm just saying that it wasn't enough to get me back interested in the game. And that's somebody who has spent plenty of time in Guild Wars 2 off and on throughout the years. So, something story-wise, I think right now would be something compelling to get me back into the game that would make me interested and go and perk up and go, oh, this is happening in the game now. I think that would be what it would take to get me back in Guild Wars 2 right now.
I am just very excited, Q. I know you don't play a lot of Guild Wars 2. I have, in fact, no Guild Wars 2, but I'm just very excited that I will have yet another character in the Silver Wastes. I'm very, very excited about that.
I was just, because obviously I was the one who wrote that piece, and I was just like, wait, like why are spears just a water thing and not on land already? Like every other MMO, you have spears on land. Why?
Speaking of next week being a busy week, let's talk about some of those upcoming things. Obviously, some of them are going to be scheduled for next week. Some of them are a little further off. Let's start right here with Tarisland. Although it's not coming out next week, we now do have a global launch date for Level Infinite and Loco Joys, Tencent, all the companies that own everybody else. For their global launch, June 21st. We've also got a trailer I'm showing in the B-roll right now, kind of showing off the big baddie, at least as they kicked off things in the MMO. This is the Blight Dragon. I'm sure he's, all about death and has and has wings.
Has wings.
I'm just saying. A lot of death and wings. Maybe. Something like that. I mean, Troy, they get a lot of flack for being the WoW clone and the WoW ripoff and all that stuff, and seemed very well timed when World of Warcraft was pulled out of China. Now that World of Warcraft is coming back to China, I don't know how much this holds for people. It does have over 3 million people pre-registered, so off to a good start. But most MMOs get off to a decent or very good start. And you've actually played this a little bit. So have I. I don't know how long this one holds my attention. I'm hopeful for it, but I don't. I'm not like super excited for it.
Yeah, I really wasn't impressed when I played it at all. It was everything was so obviously copy pasted from World of Warcraft down to the Taurens, the cow people you run into in the very first of the game, to Prince Anduin, to Jaina Proudmoore the elf.
Hey, her name was not Jaina.
It was Jenna. Is that what it was?
I think it was. It was like Jenna or Jana or something. It wasn't Jaina, but it was damn close.
It was ridiculous. And then that just kind of, as somebody who played WoW for a long time back in the day, it was just they were hitting all the the big hits, and just making sure that they checked all them boxes for hey, if you liked World of Warcraft, you're gonna like this game, and it just instantly turned me off.
I mean, it made sense for that period where World of Warcraft wasn't allowed in China.
Yeah.
And you had a bunch of WoW players without anything to do. Like it was basically like, look, we know, you can't have the original, but we can get away with some stuff here. So
I tell you what, they would have felt at home in the world at least.
Yeah.
I mean,
when you can't have Lay's potato chips, praise is just as good, right? Like getting a big old bag of praise. Like that's.
I don't think in either context of that word would I want it anywhere near my food.
Kisasha has the winning comment on this news article, by the way. Can't wait to play it for a few hours before finally checking the store and then uninstalling.
There.
That's a good possibility. June 21st. We'll be checking it out here. I'll do the first look video. We'll probably stream it a little bit. Next week, though, big week for Bungie. Really, really big week for Bungie. Destiny 2's The Final Shape. Just a week away. One of the June 4th stuff that we mentioned. We've got the new launch trailer. We're seeing old friends return. There was Season of the Wish, Into the Pale Heart. Like, if you go complete Closer to the Heart before taking on any of the new content, right? Just to avoid spoilers. So maybe be careful about what videos you watch here. No audio. I'm just going to play the trailer itself here. But I still don't believe that it could be understated, Q, how well received The Final Shape needs to be. Or I still think Bungie's in a lot of trouble of just Sony coming in and taking control of things.
Yeah, which is, I don't know. I feel like once it gets to that point where the bigger company just comes in and takes control, the players are pretty much screwed. Like, after that, you kind of still want, the developer to develop the game, but if they're doing such a poor job that the people giving them money are like, yeah, no, then I don't know. I just feel like the players are the ones who end up getting screwed in the end on it.
I don't know, man. Troy, I just feel like obviously Destiny 2 has its hardcore player base. I am not one of them. I am a Destiny 2 casual. I jump in for expansions. I play through the whole story, and occasionally, depending on what's going on in different updates for the seasons, I'll jump in to do that story too. Like if it involves characters I like and things like that. I will be jumping in. I'm so far back, I don't know what the hell. Like, maybe I should probably install this again. Did I uninstall it? I don't know. I should probably play a little bit this weekend before launch next week. Not that I'm going to get anything done, but at least I'll know what the damn controls and menus do again.
Yeah.
That is the worst part about leaving a game.
Oh, and Destiny is by
It's why I
far the
never
worst.
got back into Black Desert Online. Because I really liked playing it, but then I dropped out for a while for whatever reason. I don't remember. But then I went back to it and I was like, I don't know where anything is buried in these menus. Like, and I'm like I can't figure it out now. I'm just gone.
The one last piece that I'm going to give you on this one, though, is you will need 300 gigs free on your computer to complete this install.
What the hell?
Now, I mean, obviously, when it's done, the file size itself, it becomes about 155 gigs, which is still a monster of a file. But you will need 300 gigs free to complete the install.
Jeez.
That's a pretty tall order for SSDs right now in a lot of consumer cases. I mean, I'll be fine on my side, but that's a fortuitous position to be in. Not everybody is in. So yeah,
Was it Destiny or another game that they started doing the thing where they like pulled content out?
Oh yeah, Destiny Vault stuff. Yeah.
Well, but to lower your hard drive.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Okay. I'm like, the fact that we're reaching this point on games in general, like that they're so far outpacing what a lot of people have hard drive wise to be able to continue to play your games.
Yeah, I guess we could throw that in there, Ninja. Q and I were kind of talking about that this morning. The Final Fantasy 14 fixed benchmark also comes out next week on the 3rd. Yeah, 160 gigs isn't that much. You have a 2 terabyte SSD. They're pretty cheap nowadays. I would agree with you there, but I'm not talking about the size of a drive, any given drive. I'm talking about somebody having 300 gigs on their SSD free just to complete the install without having to move or things around. Again, for some of us, Gibson, you're right. Who cares? I don't care about these numbers. I have multiple SSDs in here. They're all 2 terabytes or bigger. I got 300 gigs somewhere. It's no big deal. But not everybody is in that position. And more importantly, this game's also on consoles.
Yeah.
This game is also on consoles, which presents a whole new set of challenges when you start talking about those types of
well, I mean, look, at least they haven't taken it mobile. I don't even some of these games I don't even know how that works because it's like this game is massive but you can install it on your phone.
The PS5 file size clocks in at just under 144 gigs. The Xbox Series S and X clocks in at just under 166 gigs. And then Steam and Epic Games Store just under 300 for the install. So consoles makes that a lot more fun too. A lot more fun to deal with.
Yeah, I would have to do what Baron says right now. I would have to uninstall a bunch of stuff to make room for the install.
Yeah, and some people are going to have to do that. Yeah, it harkens back to Call of Duty. Yes. Yep. I mean, maybe that's the one you uninstall, right? Just get rid of Call of Duty 2019. Throne and Liberty, we still don't have a date for this. I'm kind of amazed by that, by the way. Remember, this was originally kind of targeting a late 2023 launch and then got delayed into 2024 to make some changes about the Western release and things like that. And now a report from South Korea's MTN, and credit to Massively where Q got the translation for this. Not only are there rumors of a possible mobile version, which really just like if there was more and more you could tell me about a game that makes me less and less interested, Throne and Liberty has done exactly that from day one. Like every time I hear something about Throne and Liberty, I'm a little less interested in it. But producer An Jong-wook has stepped down. Now, this is going to be a replacement with the game's current executive director. And so they're saying, hey, this really doesn't have an impact. You know, these people have been working on it. It's not like we're bringing somebody new in. But the producer stepping down prior to a game actually launching, Q, I'm sorry, that's a big deal. That's a big deal to me when your producer's like, yeah, I'm not sticking around for launch.
Yeah, it's up there with things like, the game launching and them going ahead and getting rid of the producer like a week later.
Right.
as not good signs for your game. Because when I first read it, I was like, why? What's wrong? What happened?
Yeah, and they're still working with Amazon to bring it to a global launch and get a release date and everything. And apparently those meetings are still set to continue. Like they're very careful saying like this is fine, everything's fine. But Troy, I just feel like that meme, right, where the dog is sitting in the burning dining room saying it's all fine.
Mm-hmm. Starting to get, as much as I hate to say this, starting to get Blessed vibes off of it. Like maybe it's just
no
gonna be anything close to what we were hoping it was gonna be when it finally makes its way here.
You kind of feel like it might be, them being like, oh yeah, we're still going to bring it west and all of this. It is maybe the same kind of prop thing we had going on with Ubisoft's quadruple A pirate game. What the hell?
Skull and Bones.
Right, they had to do it. That one had to be done. Like, I wonder if this might be the same situation, that it just has to be put out no matter what's going on in the background.
Or it has to be put out of its misery. I don't know. Mobile version rumors, though, so yay. Yay. Troy, what is this goofy shit you wrote up here? What the hell is this?
What is this goofy shit you sent me to write up?
What is this? What the hell is this thing? I thought it was really goofy and strange looking. I was like, yeah, we're writing this up.
And you were correct, sir. It's RAWMAN, a food fighting first person shooter battle arena. Like,
no, wait, is this legit food fighting? That this isn't one of those things like what happened
I mean, in the B-roll, the dude's throwing soup on people.
See, this was the thing when they announced
Cuisine Royale.
When they announced Cuisine Royale, I was so mad when I actually saw what it was, because I was thinking they were making a food fighting game. But no, it was just called Cuisine Royale because you could wear a freaking strainer on your head as a piece of armor. So, finally, somebody's made a food fight game.
I mean, there was like graham cracker walls and stuff. July 23rd, free to play. Sure, why not? Yeah, I'll see you on July 23rd. We'll take a peek at it. I have no idea who is making this. Who the hell is this? Let me look it up real quick.
Someone with taste.
Developer's name is Animal. Oh, publisher's Tiny Build. Okay, but Animal, all capital letters, is the name of the company making it.
Yeah.
Savages.
It's even better.
A bunch of savages, I tell you, a bunch of savages.
What?
All right. Hey, let's finish up. I'm going to give you two the question of the week. We'll answer it first, then we'll go through the weekly bombs and question of the week answers, and we'll let the viewers chime in on this one. Troy, you can go first. Here's the question for you that I want you to pick from. If you could only play one, we've talked about like your favorite MMO and your favorite multiplayer shooter and your favorite this and your favorite that. We've done that on previous shows. But if you could only play one multiplayer game for the rest of your life, not just like, hey, you got to play Lotro and you can't play any other MMOs. No, I'm talking all multiplayer, and I'm not talking like couch co-op and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean by multiplayer. You get online, the game is primarily made to play with other people. via an internet connection. If you can only play one for the rest of time, you're not allowed to buy anything else that comes out, and you can't play anything else that's already on the market. What game are you playing until you die in the multiplayer space?
You know, initially my brain went towards MMORPGs, but I shied away from that simply because, you know, given that form of a question, I can get open world gameplay out of single player games. I can get big, extravagant worlds where the world changes around me and stuff out of single player games.
And you can do
So
dungeon diving in Wayfinder, who takes off the offline or the
yeah,
online component today, actually.
who is now a single player game. Yay. So I just went with my favorite MOBA as something that I would want to go to, and that would be Smite, or in this case, I guess right now it would be Smite 2.
Yeah, you pick Smite too.
That way I've got the sequel and the new one ready to go.
Are you partaking of the alpha playtest again this weekend?
I will be tonight.
Nice. Baron Vagabond and Chirac chiming in. Put your answers in the on the website on MMOBomb when I post this, so that I can put those in next week's show. Q, what do you got?
So I actually thought about this seriously, like when I looked at it yesterday.
She says that like everything else you've ever put in the show notes, I don't put thought or take them seriously, but this one caused some pause.
Well, and the answer is not a single one of them.
Wait, what?
There is no game like particularly like, because think mostly all the multiplayer games I play are MMOs.
Right.
There is no game that I would want to play like forever. I get bored with things so easily. And like he pointed out, a lot of the things that I like to do in games, I mostly play for the story. So once the story runs out, then I'm done playing it. Like happened with Secret World. Like
Yeah.
I could have kept playing it, but the story ran out, so there was nothing for me to do. So
that's kind of the danger with picking any MMO, right? Like either the story runs out and the game shuts down at some point, but obviously for the context of this question, we'll just pretend the game goes forever. But then you have those big gaps in time, like Final Fantasy 14 right now. If you had picked it a year and a half ago, you probably smashing your head on your desk for the last 4 months. Like, this is the only multiplayer game I can play. There ain't shit I want to do in it right now.
Right. And well, the other thing is I don't really care about the multiplayer aspect of a game necessarily, right? Like my other favorite games that I'm playing are like, you know, the Hoyo games, Genshin and Star Rail and stuff like that, which I did not include in my figuring on this because they're really single player games with some co-op, right? Like they're not intended to play with other people exactly. Like you're in there for your story. But I play XIV like it's a single player game most of the time. So I could just go play other single player games and not be stuck in something where the story's probably going to die off or whatever else. Like there's not something that I would be like, this is the thing I played forever.
Yeah, Troy, I kind of took the same bent as you. It's like I initially was like, okay, I'll pick an MMO. That gives me a wide variety of things to do. And then I was like, yeah, but then the content gaps become like even worse, right? Like the content gap in 14 right now is only semi-bearable for me. And obviously there's tons of shit you could be doing. I just don't want to do some of that stuff, and I pay my sub, so deal with it. But then you're like, well, I just go play a different MMO or a different game, or, you know, Troy's in Lotro. I'll go check that out for a month. But if you got to limit it to one, I don't think you pick an MMO. So I'm like, all right, if MMOs are off the list, what multiplayer games do I... God, no, I'm not sticking to just Rocket League multiplayer. I would be the most angry person on the fucking planet. Oh, I'd be so angry. I would be nothing but heated every time you saw me if Rocket League was the only multiplayer game I could play for the rest of my life. Every day getting what a saved? No. No. And so I came down to like a weird one. Mine would be the Jackbox party packs. One, if you've never played them, they're a blast, by the way.
Yes,
And
they
you
are.
have a party over at your house or whatever, and everybody just pulls out their phones and links into it, and it's very easy and it's very fun, and it's never the same, right? Because everybody plays the game differently, and so something like that, I think, if I could only touch one multiplayer thing, it would be something like those Jackbox party packs where the games are different. There's multiple options to play. Every game's going to be different anyway. Even if you get some of the same prompts now and then, everybody's going to answer them differently. Just something that is constantly diverse and a lot
See,
of fun.
that's a good answer, provided you were
You have
someone who actually
friends.
spends some time around
Right.
people.
Right. You have friends. That's another, yeah, right. Because it's not really an online one where I could just like go matchmake. I gotta.
I would have to want somebody to come to my house.
True. True. Your wife's made you buy them. Oh, they're fantastic. Like, and their new one, they're coming up with a new one, is going to be adults oriented. I mean, they already are, but they're like double entendre kind of adults oriented. This newer one, they're like, yeah, it's going to get an M rating, like no doubt. So, looking forward to it. Let us slide over and get started with the weekly bombs. I'm stunned by Tori the Chicken's answer. Wait, do we count Trackmania? I forgot about Trackmania. My answer is Trackmania. Yes, Trackmania counts. Trackmania counts. I'm going to give an A-bomb to Riot Games. They totally missed the mark this week with their Faker bundle, where the top tier bundles were in the $400 to $500 range. For somebody that's actually very known for their generosity, they totally missed the mark with those stupid bundles. So they get an A-bomb. And I'm also giving an A-bomb to the Final Fantasy XIV credit card issues, which are going to persist until July. I'm hopeful that mine, like, because my auto payment went through a couple of days before they started having issues, so I haven't been impacted yet. But my card on file is a Visa debit, so I expect it to be impacted when it tries to go through next month. So, yeah, that's annoying. Go ahead, Q. What do you got?
Actually, also an A-bomb to the credit card issues, because I have been impacted by them. That was how I found out about them. Like it gives you an error that's like card not available. So I'm like, at first I was like, did my bank lock my card?
Has my bank closed?
And then I Googled it and found, a whole thing on Reddit going back a month. So this has been going on a month. I guess over a month now. But it was like, this is not good. And then yesterday they're like, oh, and it'll be fixed in July. And I'm like, after Dawn Trail launches. It'll be fixed after Dawn Trail launches when people might want to be paying for their sub.
No, Ninja, it's not a situation where only people that make changes are impacted. They change the payment processor on their side. So, like, even just having your card on file, which mine has been on file for years, certain cards are not going through when they're rerun with the new payment processor. So, I'm waiting for the
specifically Visa debits.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the email that says your payment did not go through in like 3 weeks or whenever that goes through, and then I'll be like, I hate you. Troy, what do you got?
Bomb to another Smite 2 Alpha weekend, baby.
I knew that was coming.
Ready for it.
Yeah, France and the United States are the two big ones right now for that issue. From the viewers, K-Sharp25 chiming in saying, A-bomb to the rumor Microsoft is looking to acquire Valve/Steam. Why? So gamers have to pay for a Game Pass as the only option? No, thank you. I don't think it's going to happen either. Go ahead, Q.
YouTube commenter. Giving an A-bomb to people upset about the new Assassin's Creed announcement and getting upset at nothing burger points. Being upset about historical accuracy in a game literally with magic aliens and time travel has to be one of the dumbest things to be mad about, when people should be more upset about the aberrant pricing for the different editions of the game. Screw those bozos.
Yeah, I've seen those arguments too, and I was kind of like, well, I mean, so I saw the point, but not the anger. Like, the point was the character in the next Assassin's Creed is based off of an actual historical character that existed. Now, obviously, I'm sure they're going to take plenty of creative license with their story because there are gaps in missing knowledge about this historical figure. And whether they were a samurai, whether they were involved in certain things, like, there are gaps. They're going to fill those in. But yeah, I mean, like, really? The first Assassin's Creed, we got into a time travel device that let you jump into your ancestors and live their experience. Go ahead, Troy.
Misfit Rain, the bomb to WoW, the war bands, and this new remix event got all my alcoholic and collection juices flowing. Resub for about 2 years. To be honest, probably only play a month again though. Seems the pattern. Maybe not.
Yeah, seeing good and bad on the remix event. People not liking how much equipping everybody out costs, but as far as bronze. Ninja Panda is saying a very late 50% A-bomb and 50% D-bomb to the DDoS attacks on 14, because while I was at the last boss on the near raid in 14 and we got hit by 3 DCs, which annoyed everyone. So while we were waiting for people to come back, a dance-off started with emotes till it calmed down enough for us to finish the raid. That's a bad that turns into a good. A dance-off is always good. Go ahead, Q.
Stefan W., that Warhaven game died already? Wow, and nowhere have I seen it being reported.
Yeah, we were on it from day one because it made Troy very sad. We were on it the day it was announced, and then we watched the different updates and things that they were doing afterwards, questioning why. Like, whatever. Like, they added dropping content into it. Whatever. Go ahead, Troy. Finish it up.
Kyle 23.99. A-bomb to that state of play being ass. Astrobot can only save you so much.
Yeah, so there wasn't a ton multiplayer to talk about on the state of play, but I did want to get what everybody thought. So we saw Path of Exile 2 and console release of it and some gameplay of it with the twin stick controls, which are looking really, really good. We saw some more Marvel Rival stuff and the confirmation of console launches there. We also saw a multiplayer, yet another multiplayer arena shooter set to launch with 5v5 battles called Concord. So that's pretty much all on the multiplayer aspect. What'd you think of the state of play, Troy?
Overall, not over appealing to me as the state of play typically isn't, because unless it's something like Path of Exile or Marvel Rivals, a lot of what they show is stuff that if I'm going to get it on PC is going to be years before I get it. But seeing the twin stick controls on Path of Exile 2, that was interesting. I like the way that looked, and just seeing Marvel Rivals right now just excites me.
Yeah, I know you're pumped about that one. Q?
I actually didn't watch it.
Oh, well, there you go. Moving on, question of the week. I thought Path of Exile 2 looked dope. Question of the week last week. What do you think of Wayfinder's big change? Which I think they were doing a countdown just before this show, by the way, of the online requirement going away. Is this the right direction to right the ship, and will it be successful? Trenchard said, it's not the game that I invested in, buying early access, I presume. Nor will it be the game I will be interested in with this new direction. I'm 200 plus hours in and well past any possible Steam refund. Most would say, well, with that many hours, you got your money's worth, $150. So Trenchard bought the big bundle. Not really. I would say about 50 hours was spent enjoying the game. The remainder was spent prepping my account for the game's future as it was, grinding. With this new direction, I don't see how I get my money's worth out of the game. I spent enough to buy 3 extra copies, so unless they have a good amount of free DLC planned, I'm at a loss. Prediction: the game launches, receives a few patches to get things stable, and then goes into maintenance mode. Airship Syndicate can't financially support further development due to poor sales and dissolves as a company before the end of 2024. Sorry for the doom and gloom, but I feel a bit let down. Troy, I couldn't help but notice while I was reading their comment, you were nodding.
Yeah, I don't think this game is going to be long for this world. Unfortunately, I hate to say that. I would like to see it succeed, but all indicators are that this one is not going to be around much longer.
Q, go ahead, take the next one.
K-Sharp25. No, I don't think the new direction will stop me from looking into it. I didn't pay or get into it yet, so I'm not losing anything. I think, as discussed on the show, they had to do this, and I think I'll give them a chance.
Yeah, and to be fair, like on last week's show, right, the producer was in our chat and said, yeah, it came down to, let's see if we can make this work or shut it down. Like, those are our options. Go ahead, Troy.
Someone else. I was vaguely interested in Wayfinder before, but after the Shift announcement, I'm much more interested in it, as I'd much rather have a game I purchase than can play whenever than yet another free-to-play service-based game trying to nickel and dime the player at every turn. So someone from a different perspective.
Yeah, and it was quite split on this one. Like there were people going back and forth, and I could see both pros and cons to the debate there. MMO and Fun Games says, what Wayfinder was missing was build variations. Yes, I talked about it the minute we found out. You couldn't even create a character, let alone a build. Well, you do builds in there, but it's a very meta, like pick this one or this one, right? Well, here you go. MMO Fun Games goes a little further. There are currently only 2 builds, attack crit and spell crit. There are also simply just not enough stats. Most mobile games have 3 times more stats in their gachas. Dungeon crawlers need interesting loot, too. Yeah. And I was willing to give it passes on some of that because it was an early access, although I did lambaste them in charging for that early access in the condition that it was in. I wanted it to do well, but I just don't think we're going to get there. Go ahead, Q.
Misfit Rain. Nothing new on Wayfinder except you can forever play it solo or via Steam or PlayStation/Xbox servers. That shit is dead.
Troy.
Liana339 reported Airship Syndicate to the German Consumer Office, to be honest. You can't fund a different game with early access money. They advertised an MMO, not a single-player co-op game.
Yeah, it starts to hit a lot of gray area there, I think, as far as legality goes. The House Always Wins says, I'm personally rooting for Wayfinder. I love almost everything about this game, from the art design to the characters to the gameplay and its loop. I'm one of those whales that shelled out $150 for the Founders Pack, so I'm definitely hoping that this shift to solo/co-op will save the game. I know a lot of my friends were interested in Wayfinder when I told them about it a few months back. Sadly, their interest died out when they found out it was a free-to-play MMO. Hopefully, the fact that this game will now be a co-op dungeon crawler will change their minds. If not, I seriously need to get new friends. Go ahead, Q. Finish it up.
Casco9307. I have a question. Who is going to refund the people that buy the game as an MMO and is not going to be a single player? What is going to happen to all the people that buy the Founders Pack and see the video of Asmongold talking with the director about the game, and he says they never receive any money? Who has received the money was Digital Extremes with Steam. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. That's what he says. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah, I didn't see the Asmon video until after I read Casco's comment for the show today. And yeah, I mean, Airship Syndicate seemed to be alluding to that the early access money really didn't go to them. That it went to Digital Extremes and Steam, took their cut. How much of that is true? Like, I don't know. I'm not privy to their internals and their financials. And yeah, I mean, nobody's getting a refund, right? That's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. But there is that argument that you can absolutely make on should they have been given refunds, right? If you invested in what was billed into early access as this is going to be a free-to-play MMO, and now it is a very different game. This isn't they changed some systems, and now you don't like the new battle system or whatever. It's a different genre now. It's a single or co-op offline dungeon diver. I thought they were being very loose with the term MMO initially anyway. And as far as we think of MMORPGs, and eventually they stopped using that term, if you remember, Troy. They were trying to get away from using that term. So nobody's getting a refund, though, but there's an argument that people should. They don't have the money to do it, though. That's for sure.
Nope.
Question of the week this week. If you could only play one multiplayer game for the rest of time, not specific to MMO, you have to play by the same rules we went by when we answered. What would it be and why? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget your weekly bombs while you're there. Bomb for something good, bomb for something bad in the world of gaming or just life in general. If you have a question for the panel, put it down below and I'll bring it to the next show whenever that is. Go ahead, Troy. Where can everybody find you until then?
On socials, I'm at Noob Fridge.
Cute.
On Blue Sky Miscreation.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there at magicman1, but more importantly, follow at MMOBomb, and you'll know every time we're going live. We post a giveaway, put up a first look video, news, interviews, and so much more. Stay tuned to socials. It's going to be sporadic over the next couple of weeks here. Until next time, stay safe. See you on the servers.